FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Financial Survival Network is brought to you today by Orin Resources, a junior exploration company with the appetite of a major. It's hot on the trail of the next globally significant discovery, creating enormous potential upside for you, the shareholder. Orin is one of the most aggressive exploration companies pursuing high-grade, scalable gold and copper deposits and has a premier 7-project portfolio, including its 2 flagships, Committee Bay in the Arctic and Sombrero in Peru. Orin's unparalleled technical team and highly experienced management has a history of success in advancing and monetizing exploration assets. No wonder Orin's been called one of the best in the junior exploration sector. Orin trades on the TSX and the NYSE under AUG. To learn more, go to orinresources.com. That's AURYN resources.com.
The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
Welcome. You are listening to the Financial Survival Network. I'm Kerry Lutz. It is 4/30/19. That means it's the last day of April 2019. How has your year been so far? Prosperous? Well, if you've been in the stock market, been a bit of a roller coaster. Other investments, well, not so good. So keep with a winner, right? That's what I say. And maybe the country is going to do the same. Well, let's talk about the Mueller Report. Let's talk about subpoena envy by none other than Jerry Nadler, the formerly bloated representative from New York's Upper West Side, I believe. Where else would he be from? Let's face it. Hey, first, as always, we invite you to participate in the show. Good news. There is a left-wing coffee shop that's expanding into my neighborhood. So I will be able to walk there from now on and won't have to hop in the car. I'll be able to read your emails on the way to that coffee shop and have a great laugh. And I'll see, maybe I will finally set up my office in Starbucks, become a commercial squatter. I've been trying to do it, but I need one that's got the outlets in the right place, that has enough space in the back so I don't shut the place down, because then I will certainly get arrested. And let's see if they throw me out. If, I guess they probably discriminate against working journalists. Probably if you're a drug addict or squatter, you have superior rights than mine. But I'm going to be a commercial squatter. I'm still going to do it. You're going to see. I will do it. I just want to do it right. Hey, and talking about doing it right, we've got James Hirsen with us, and you find him over at jameshersen.com. Well, you know that he's a lawyer, I think a psychologist, probably a therapist to those ailing Hollywood types, because he lives out in L.A. James, welcome back, and a columnist too, I shouldn't forget. So, James, welcome back, and hey.
Great to be with you.
So I hope you've been enjoying liberal tears, drinking them up. They are the sweetest substance on the planet, even sweeter than Van Morrison's Tupelo honey.
I love that tune. If they just cried, it would be great. But they're engaging in a game of trying to perpetuate a dead narrative, trying to change reality. As a matter of fact, it's very much the same scenario that we experienced after the 2016 election, where they wouldn't accept the results because they didn't expect it. Well, same thing. They expected the Mueller report to basically hand them absolute explicit material where they could commence impeachment and get rid of this president they hate. And instead, the Mueller report, together with the interpretation of the Justice Department under William Barr and Rod Rosenstein, I must say.
Don't forget.
Basically did completely exonerate the president legally. And as you and I know, we're both attorneys, the job of a prosecutor is to determine whether there's sufficient evidence to prosecute. This is a yes or no question. And what Robert Mueller did in the second half of his report is write a gossip column. He basically wrote lots of speculative, factual scenarios similar to what the president calls fake news. Many of them were sourced by articles in media outlets that used anonymous sources, and they didn't come to any conclusion. But what they did was leave breadcrumbs for people like the aforementioned Jerry Nadler to play the game that he and Elijah Cummings and Adam Schiff are doing, and that is to politicize the important aspect of Congress, which is called oversight. What they are doing is not oversight. What they are doing is playing political games, and they're doing it in conjunction with the New York Attorney General, the latest in a line of resigned attorney generals, Letitia James, who basically has given up the role of Attorney General of New York and engaged only in politics, and now is going after Trump using that office. And so, consequently, Trump's legal strategy has completely flipped and changed. The amazing thing is this again. I think the public's become inured to it, but the way the media reports this, the media basically is doing what Democrats have accused William Barr of doing. The media is spinning, distorting, and lying about the contents of the Mueller report in order to try desperately to save face, but they can't because they lied to us for 2 years.
Yeah, and the proof of this, James, is look at the decline in the ratings of CNN, fake news CNN, and PMS NBC, right? They've lost huge portions of their viewership, and they keep doubling down on nonsense. I mean, how does that work here,
and
James? Because I don't get it.
Especially CNN, who has the guy who runs CNN, who used to be a Hollywood guy, and he used to run NBC, among others, is Jeff Zucker. And Jeff Zucker has now run that station down to a point where in any rational business world, Jeff Zucker would be fired. And yet he continues on. Now, I don't understand what's happening with Time Warner. They were acquired by AT&T, and there's certainly AT&T is cleaning house in other parts of that organization, particularly at HBO. So maybe Jeff Zucker's, on the bubble. I certainly hope so, because CNN is really, Ted Turner should file a lawsuit for defamation with what they've done to his baby.
Yeah, it's a disgrace what they have done. And how do you justify it? I don't know, because they're not making good sound business decisions, right?
Well, right. Because I'm in Hollywood, I know how they justify it because I hear it every day. The people, will say that, all basic rules of engagement involving the media have been suspended because of this man in the White House, because he's a racist and a Nazi and blah, blah, blah. And so they justify practically anything. And then when they go to their social gatherings, Jeff Zucker is getting all kinds of pats on the back from people who sympathize with his political views. But in the meantime, the vast majority of the media has completely lost credibility. And really, the truth is, they'll never be able to get it back. And that's a big statement, but they won't, because the public has seen, this last thing with the Mueller report, the Russia collusion narrative that they absolutely pushed 24/7 for 2 years. Most of the public knows now that it was a lie, that it was absolute fabrication. And we can see who's pushing this fabrication as it's been debunked is none other than the one who started it, Hillary Clinton, because she in her public statements, she's trying everything she can to get people to interpret the Mueller report in some way that it is not. But everything has changed, really. The Mueller report, the aftermath of it, has changed the American media culture. But one of the things that has changed is the Trump administration and their legal strategy. And here, because we look at one of the big reasons that the notion of obstruction of justice, and there's many reasons why there is no crime of obstruction of justice anywhere in the Mueller report, no prosecutable crime. But one of the things that we point to is look at the conduct of the president, not his statements, but his conduct. He never exerted executive privilege. He produced over 1 million documents. He had every single official that was asked come in voluntarily and basically give it all up, and every family member as well, to the Mueller investigation, including his lawyers. And Don McGahn went in there for 30 freaking hours and testified. This is not the conduct of someone who's obstructing. But now the White House has shifted strategy because they're getting tons of subpoenas from more than three committees, because they got Maxine Waters in there too. And what they're doing is the president has already telegraphed, we're not going to instruct our people to go in and testify because we think these investigations are illegitimate. And of course, it has the media screaming. Has also, they filed a lawsuit against Elijah Cummings in his capacity as House Oversight Chairman, because there was a subpoena for years old financial records that, from Elijah Cummings. Also, Mnuchin, the Treasury Secretary, had been given a demand for the president's tax returns with a deadline. That deadline has passed. And it goes on and on. So the White House is taking a completely different tack. Rudy Giuliani, the personal lawyer of the president, has already been on TV saying this is the right thing to do. And one of the things he said, I said, the idea that these investigations are illegitimate, Rudy said, there's hardly anyone in America that thinks that this is legitimate. He said, this is like a judge saying, I'm going to hang you, but I'll give you a trial first.
Yeah.
They've already decided. So this is going to go somewhere that Trump is intimately familiar with. He wrote The Art of the Deal, but one of the things he understands is the art of litigation. And he's going to be litigating now. And the primary issue, probably, among others, is going to be executive privilege. And
he's going to win. He's going to win on it. There's not even a question about it. It's going to go to the Supreme Court.
But here's the thing, Kerry. It doesn't even matter if he wins. Because the way executive privilege, first of all, it sets up a confrontation between two branches of government, of course. We have the executive branch, the legislative branch, asking the judicial branch to pick a winner. Yeah. And the judicial branch has said in every case
they don't want any part of it.
To the Nixon era, which, by the way, the press is invoking Richard Nixon all over the place. But it goes back to the Nixon era. The courts are reluctant. They want to try to avoid deciding disputes between branches of government. So that their default position is to kick it away. But in the process, what happens is, of course, the federal appellate system, they say the wheels of justice turn exceedingly slow. They go slower in this case.
Yeah.
And guess what? They'll go beyond 2020 and deprive the Democrats of their smear of Trump and of their talking points and of their pound of flesh.
And beyond probably 2024 and the end of Trump's second term, which, hey, what about this cast of misfits, of just creepy people of incompetence, of people panderers. I mean, you name it. This is the worst crop of candidates. It's far worse than the Republican 2016 slate of candidates, all 17 of them, excluding Trump.
Oh, so much worse. Look, what has happened to the Democrat Party, and the part of it you can see by the election of this trio of freshman congresswomen, Ocasio-Cortez, Omar, and Tlaib. And Bernie Sanders is sort of the founding father of the far left of the Democrat Party. And they have moved into their activist base. But here's the problem for the Democrats. They are deeply divided. And the activist far left, radical left-wing base are the people that vote in the primaries. So that's why we have all of the candidates trying to out-left each other. I support the New Green Deal, and I have, so many trillion. I want the tax rate to be 70%. Well, I want it to be 90%. And they're out-lefting each other. I'm not just for socialism. I'm for communism, and on and on. And that's why the electorate, in terms of the primaries, are moving quickly back and forth between candidates. The sweetheart Beto O'Rourke, his sun has set. Now the new flavor of this week or this month is Pete Buttigieg, the mayor of a tiny little town in Indiana. No offense to South Bend, but hey, Anaheim, California has more people than South Bend. Yeah. Buttigieg is now, believe it or not, according to polls, tied with Bernie Sanders for second place in New Hampshire. And Newt Gingrich recently said he thinks Buttigieg is going to get the nomination.
No.
I'm not so sure about that.
Pete Buttplug? I don't think so.
Yeah, well, see, here's the reason. I mean, his poll numbers are high because he hasn't faced the heat yet. There's no opposition research like the opposition research of Democrats. Democrats are vicious with each other. And yet, the very famous ad Lee Atwater was blamed for against Michael Dukakis came
Willie Horton
from the Al Gore campaign.
Right.
And this is the way they fight. And so they're already starting to surface things about Buttigieg's record in South Bend, which is atrocious. And even though he has this mild-mannered image, he tries to look reasonable and moderate, but he has exactly the same far left
cut from the same cloth
points of view as Bernie Sanders, as all the far left people. So he's a wolf in sheep's clothing, and that will be exposed. So he's not a viable general election candidate, but that radical base that votes in the primaries might make him the winner of a couple of primaries and make him a contender.
Give him momentum.
And that's why he's been picking fights with Mike Pence, because he's auditioning to be a VP.
Well, nobody named Buttigieg is going to be elected president. This is a straight branding question. Just like Hickenlooper is probably one of the most sane of the Dems, but he will never get elected with a name like Hickenlooper. It's just never going to happen here. Obama, probably an aberration, but even Obama is not a bad last name. It was just his first and middle names, but nobody is going to elect. This is just not going to happen. We're not going to get a guy named Buttigieg elected.
Well, the Democrats who live in a cocoon, who live in a bubble, who live in the Ocasio-Cortez world of fantasy, they believe that Buttigieg is like Obama in that he's a historical candidate, being the first gay man to, place second in the polls in New Hampshire, that he's very much like Obama. And somehow they believe that middle America and the people from across America are going to be okay with seeing Buttigieg's wedding pictures or him posing in a hot tub with Jussie Smollett or something like that. Not that he's done that, but they're going to get memes of him. And, that's a big question, whether or not the voting public is ready for an openly gay president of the United States. Besides his name, I'm just saying, but the big thing about him, the worst thing about him are his stands on the issues.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the problem for Joe Biden, by the way, who is going to have tons of money and going to have, in the end, the backing of the Obama machine, and is probably the favorite to get the nomination. But the problem for him is that he cannot effectively answer, honestly, any questions on his stands on the issues without becoming a loser in the primaries or a loser in the general.
Hey.
If he answers in accordance with the radical left-wing based voters of the Democrats, he'll lose the general. If he answers honestly the way his record shows that he's essentially been really, in many cases, a conservative Democrat, then he will lose the primary.
For sure.
And Ocasio-Cortez has already, her group has said, this guy's looking backwards to the past.
Mm-hmm.
We want to look forward to the future.
Yeah.
And forward to the future means the policies of Karl Marx.
Yeah.
And so this is good. So he's trying. It's interesting to hear first of all, he slurred.
Yeah. Did you hear that?
His first.
I think there's something wrong. There's something wrong.
You know what it sounded like? He's either on medication or he has dentures
or he had a stroke.
Or something.
Or he had a stroke.
Strength, like a mouthful of saliva, like that. And or he's on a medication. I don't know. Maybe he's been drinking.
The words that were coming out.
He's always been a self-destructive politician.
Oh, yeah.
Every time he's run for national office, he ends up murdering his own campaign, or his record does. And the Creepy Joe memes that are all over the internet, I mean, really, if someone looks at them with an open mind, they would never want this guy anywhere near the White House, anywhere. It's not even like, people say, well, Joe Biden, but what about Donald Trump? Well, Donald Trump has never been creepy. Donald Trump has never, in public, at a public ceremony, placed his hands in the wrong area on a little girl,
multiple
an
times,
11-year-old girl.
Multiple
this
times.
Guy, this is positively chilling to see these videos, because if a public official is willing to do that on camera, then what is he willing to do behind the scenes? What is Biden like? Now, we've only heard he likes to take female Secret Service agents and strip down naked and swim in front of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've heard that one, yes.
That, to be honest, that's not nearly as creepy as putting his hands in the wrong part of the anatomy of a little girl.
But it's pretty creepy.
I just find
it's pretty creepy.
I think that in the end, Joe Biden is unelectable. And so the primary voters of the Democrats have a real quandary on their hands. Actually, it's a crisis for the Democrat Party. The media won't report it that way. And then you look on the other side of the aisle, and the Republicans are more united as a party than they've been in decades. The Republican polls show that Republican voters love Donald Trump to the tune of 90% approval rating. And I happen to have acquaintance with some establishment Republicans who are behind the scenes, who turn the wheels of the election. These are, people that worked for Bush, they worked for McCain, and a lot of them were what I would call sometimes Trumpers. They, I don't know if I'm going to support him on this and that. To a person, they are all supporting Trump. Everyone I know, and they're saying the same thing you just said, Kerry. have you looked at what's running on the Democrat side? Are we going to allow them to go socialist? We better rally around this guy and make him get reelected. So, there's some exceptions, Mitt Romney and some, retired senators that we won't name. But Donald Trump has such an unparalleled support now, and he's got allies in people like, unbelievably, Lindsey Graham, so I call him Lindsey Graham 2.0.
Yeah.
And even in, Mitch McConnell. Mitch McConnell's a sometimes Trumper, but he knows that it is completely not in his interest, unlike Paul Ryan, who's gone.
Yeah.
But Mitch McConnell knows that he must support Trump, because one of the things that's Mitch McConnell's favorite and most important duty in his mind, and he's done a great job, is getting those judges onto the court. And he knows that if, that's gone, if he doesn't support Trump's reelection. And I believe that we're looking at, as the economy moves, you're an expert in the economy, we have 3.2% GDP. You've got these roaring numbers. And between now and 2020, there's going to be a supercharge to the economy, and it's going to be the China trade deal. Every report I read is positive on that front.
Another Trump rabbit out of the hat.
Press.
Yep.
And so can you imagine, that will be the greatest economic victory of the Trump administration and the greatest economic victory of modern times. What that will do when that is finalized to the markets and to the Main Street economy is going to be absolutely staggering. And that will come in, I think it's being timed that way, just in time to boost things for 2020. And then people will have this roaring economy due to the great business sense and capitalist instincts of our president. And then he's going to be running against someone who's soft on socialism, even if it's Biden.
Yeah.
And so I suspect that will play big.
Okay. And also what I heard he's going to do is take marijuana off the dangerous drug list. It's Schedule 1 narcotic, dangerous drug. So that's going to discombobulate the left as well, because, hey, who are you going to vote for here? These Democrats who've had a chance to do it for years, or Trump? It's not necessarily going to get him votes, but it'll stop votes from showing up on the other side. And don't forget all the disclosures that are going to come out about Spygate. Can't forget about that. I mean, that is huge.
And people that I trust in the media, people like Sarah Carter, John Sullivan,
exactly,
Catherine Herridge, they are all saying that, I think Sarah used the word avalanche. She said an avalanche is coming.
I believe it.
And, when you know that Michael Horowitz, the Inspector General, was tasked with looking into the FISA abuse, his reports coming this summer. John Huber, the U.S. attorney from Utah, has been working on the same case. And William Barr, who now has shown, even though he looks like a teddy bear with glasses, he's not someone to be messed with.
No.
He's got a standoff going with Jerry Nadler about testimony and subpoenas, and he's not to be trifled with. Their attempt to intimidate him has made him double down, and he was in there calling it spying and saying that he's going to investigate it. So it's inevitable that this stuff is going to come out, and it leads all the way to the highest levels of the Obama administration.
No question.
So the people that participated in unmasking, that entrapped Michael Flynn, the people that commenced this, and it's very mysterious how it began. I think we're going to find out that an investigation began with nothing but political motives, and then the suppression of the truth when submitting applications to FISA judges, which if there was ever a need for a candid application, it would be when you're seeking surveillance in a secret court. And so it's the worst kind of abuse. And that is something that is going to, when the mainstream media is forced to report it, which they will be, it's going to shock the consciences. It's going to, and already the public perception of the Mueller investigation has gone down, where the vast majority of people think it lacked legitimacy, but this will just take it completely down and then expose the weaponization, which, it doesn't surprise anyone who has paid close attention to what the Obama administration engaged in over their 8 years. I'm sure that James Rubin would not be surprised. James Rubin, the former journalist for Fox News, would not be surprised that the Obama administration engaged in illicit surveillance when not only did they spy on James Rubin, they spied on his freaking parents.
Yeah, on his parents.
I mean,
Hey, what about Cheryl Atkinson? What about Cheryl? Same deal.
Yeah, exactly. Cheryl Atkinson. There was a bunch of reporters at the Associated Press. This is a story where the media covered up everything that Obama did.
Right. Exactly. Hey, we got to wrap it up now, but the best place to find you is still jameshirsen.com, JamesHirsen.com. And make sure you send us an email, Twitter feed at Kerry Lutz, Facebook page, Financial Survival Network. James, we'll talk to you again real soon.
All right. Sounds great, Kerry.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.